We've received a special request.
With the Aviate soldiers defeated and the money safely in hand, I believed it to be clear skies. And yet, some clouds still darken Sir Soupstock's brow.
Man, I can't even do my job without somebody holding my hand. Maybe I just ain't cut out for this, yeah?
Apparently, even his own officers afforded him little respect. However, I saw in his earnest eyes and noble bearing that he had the makings of a great leader. Alas, we cannot view ourselves but by outward reflection, which often dims our inner value. You were given high office, Sir Soupstock. Does that not mean someone sees in you true worthiness, though you yourself may be blind to it? You must polish yourself until the quality of your character shines forth for all the world to behold. If you remain forever pure and forever righteous, then surely those around you will be attracted by your light. The lad lent me an attentive ear. But my words were not enough to blow the clouds of doubt from his face.
I mean, just take a look at how our city's... You've got Golden Oaks, where the nobles and elite dwell, and the rest of us tucked away in Copper Square, which is, let's face it, a slum.
He continued.
Those wide-eyed beliefs of yours wouldn't last 2 seconds among the dirt and smoke of Copper Square. I wish I could be the person you say I am, but...
Biting his lip, Sir Soupstock shook his head and fell silent. A few days later, Sir Soupstock asked me to meet with him again. In a cozy Seed Hollow tavern, he told me he'd investigated our erstwhile friend, the nobleman. It seemed the scoundrel was now prancing about the city, spreading lies and slander about the family Zotba. Sir Soupstock hoped to make his own rounds and mend what damage he could. But, fearing yet another ambush from Avia, he hoped I would accompany him as his guard. His own staff, infuriated by the nobleman's dastardly doings, were foaming at the mouth and mad for a fight. However, the level-minded Sir Soupstock knew that stooping to bloody violence would only further stain their image.
I've gone through his dirty linen, and believe me, there's a lot of filth. I'd leak it now, but with these rumors floating around, I don't know if anybody'd believe me.
Never one to stand for such injustice, I began cudgeling my brain for a solution. We began to meet with people in the street, contradicting the libel and restoring faith in the family Zotba. I learned that a good informant is well known and well trusted, and, according to his own officers, no one in Seed Hollow was better liked than Sir Soupstock. Though his mannerisms savored, admittedly, of a brute, at his core he was as sweet and pure as any lily. It was little wonder the denizens of Seed Hollow were fond of him. As we exchanged more words and tidbits of information, a picture began to form of the nobleman's intentions. He was not acting, it seemed, solely from a place of vengeance. The churl desired to build his own network of informants, using the remnants of the Church of Avia. Furthermore, in his lust for wealth, he was terrorizing the good people of Copper Square and compelling services from them. Thus, the family Zotba, who kept peace in the district, was to him a bother and a nuisance. It was likely he craved their banishment. Now, fully apprised of the situation, Sir Soupstock told me of his intention to once again meet face to face with the crafty villain. Great! That training was effective. To better oneself is a daily adventure. This shall serve me well. We called upon the nobleman, who, as before, had found himself a lofty place to stand, no doubt to compensate for his lowness of character. Sir Soupstock stepped bravely forth and spoke thus.
Listen, punk. We know you've been kidnapping people and using them for forced labor, which is, FYI, illegal. I've also got proof that all the money from that phony charity of yours is being used to hire Aviath soldiers.
And?
The nobleman showed no sign of discomposure. Not one hair on his well-groomed head stirred. And yet, Sir Soupstock, bless his valiant soul, refused to back down.
Once this information gets out, you can kiss your fancy-ass titles goodbye.
Oh, but it's not going to get out. You see, that's why I've threaded together my lovely little network. Those rumors I circulated? Merely the opening act. I've got the soldiers now, and come next week, it's curtains for the family Zoth.
The nobleman showed his teeth in a glacial grin.
You want all-out war? But why?
Sir Soupstock stared back, fuming.
Well, I suppose there's no harm in revealing my master plan here. Dead men tell no tales and all that.
In the nobleman's eyes, coins from his charity were trickling toward a worthy cause. The subjugation of Copper Square. Putting the people there to work, he said, would do wonders for Seed Hollow's economy.
Can't you see? I'm taking rubbish and forming it into something useful. You and all you Zothpa toadies are standing in the way of progress.
With that, the nobleman pointed an accusing finger at us.
These interlopers mean to hinder the mission of the church. Destroy them.
At the sound of his voice, Aviath's soldiers sprung from the shadows and hemmed us in. Stand down, Sir Soupstock. I shall teach them a lesson they won't soon forget. Here was a knave that would exploit the weak for his own profit. If I failed to make him repent his crimes, it would be a stain on the name of the Lumiel Order.
Fall, so that our church may rise again.
I shall never fall to wickedness.
Good? Evil? It's all relative. It's the winners who write history after all.
Then let us see who fights for the stronger cause.
You're a tenacious little flea, I'll give you that. But this time, I brought my most ruthless warriors.
Violence and fear. Do you want this to be your legacy?
At least I shall have a legacy.
Got you! On guard!
What? You can't even kill a little girl? Fools! Worthless pigs!
How dare you speak to your comrades like that? You're the only pig here.
Oh, units advance! Destroy them! Destroy them!
Soon, you shall see that justice always prevails! Sword!
Fatal strike! It's now or never! Impossible! How were all those soldiers defeated by a single girl?
Fortune favors the virtuous. Never you fear. Victory is assured. A leader must earn the good graces of their followers through pure and righteous conduct. You cannot buy it with gold, nor command it with power or titles. But instead of lending an ear to my advice, the nobleman began running his mouth, stabbing his own soldiers in the back with sharp words.
I thought you Alvia bunch were stronger. Pity. The whole damned lot of you aren't even worth a rupee. But don't think you've won, interlopers. I am still a member of the noblesse. Those copper square dogs would lick my shoes in return for a crumb of favor. You may celebrate for a day, but the ultimate triumph shall be mine!
You sure about that?
Sir Soupstock pulled a transceiver from his pocket.
Everything you've said to us, you've said to those copper square dogs. Face it, jackass. You're finished.
Voices of censure and indignation began to spill from the transceiver. As Sir Soupstock turned a dial, they magnified, filling all the air with rage.
It can't be.
Here and there, amongst the heated words, were cries of exultation and praise for the family Zakpa. Thus, overcome by a raging sea of noise, the nobleman bowed his proud head and fell to his knees.
We've received a special request.
I trusted only my fists. If you wish to reach transcendence, you must beat out the path with your own knuckles. Which is why when my fists began to tremble in anticipation, I listened. It was as if they whispered, a terrible future awaits these skies. Fail to act, an unprecedented calamity will befall you. How could they know? Truth, they knew more than most scholars, having experienced the rigors of fundamental aesthetic practice. I tempered them relentlessly, so they could foretell which timeline would lead them to the most strength. But you may ask, how far can one go with omnipotent fists? A foolish question. Only cowards measure progress in distance, in achievement. Blood boils through these fingers. That is all I need to know. Ah, I feel the fire raging inside. The storm has arrived. And I shall catch it with my bare hands. Divinity above, wish you no ill will, but your defeat shall be evidence of my life's work. I'll recite it. I ended the evening's meditation. Decades of such ascetic training had finally borne fruit. I had honed the eternal raid style to a godlike edge. But the long years had also revealed to me an enemy I could never defeat. Time itself. My inevitable demise meant there would be no more eternal raid style. I would need a disciple. Someone worthy of inheriting my technique. Of course, coal is not transformed into diamond so easily. It would be a fool's errand to find a successor who could survive the necessary time and rigor. Thus, when I finally met the captain, I was happy to be that fool. Now I could pass on my legacy. But the captain had another goal in mind, to reach Estalucia and reunite with dear old Papa. Filial piety was a respectable tenet, but it was no god-shattering fist. despite my pleas, I failed to convince the captain to become my pupil. However, something must have resonated with the young master, because I received an invitation to join the Grand Cypher's crew. If I could not produce a scion of eternal rage, at least I would gain new allies. Walking aboard the airship, my fists buzzed. Ah! Oh, there would be something more to this meeting after all. Worthy Captain, I choose to fight by your side for the glory of the crew, for the glory of reaching Estalucia. And after we return, we shall discuss your future with the Eternal Rage style in earnest.
You heard all the stories about the old man, right?
I could hardly believe my ears. Ripping the Grim Basin apart with a single punch? Joining a war just so he could spar? And defeating both sides? Knocking over a whole mountain just from turning in his sleep? I call BS. And just like crap, there was probably a kernel of truth in there somewhere, but come on, who believes this stuff? Turns out, idiots like me. See, I've actually witnessed Gondagoza smash a meteor into space dust. You think people will catch on to that story, too?
Of course they will. Why else do people go to the pub? Man's favorite pastime is recounting tales of people braver than themselves.
But it's so hard to believe, and I saw him do the damn thing. So, yep, though the old master's legends were numerous, and honestly downright ridiculous, they were also the truth. What's crazier, Gonda would never toot his own horn. After crushing a dragon with a sneeze or what have you, he'd just say, Yep, actions speak louder than words. That's a real man's man for you. You gotta admire that. What I would give for his rippling biceps, though. Looking back now, none of us could have known. There, in the Zeka Grande Skydom, Gondagoza was about to use those rippling biceps to start a whole brand new mythos.
Sierra gave us the news. A lone brawler managed to stop a force of hundreds atop Mount Nagelith, all while quelling a raging blizzard with his bare hands? I'm not a betting man. Well, I'm not a drinking man. But, well, I'm not a man who bets when he drinks. But I'd put good money on our brawler being Gondagoza. It hadn't been that long since we sailed to Zeka Grande, so the old badger must have been working overtime for word to spread so quick. I asked Sierra to spill the details. The force he scattered was a group of soldiers, remnants of the Church of Avia, and word was they were specialists in guerrilla warfare. Sure as hell they were a fierce troop. How does an unarmed martial artist take them all out? Not that I could ask the master, because you know what he'd say. But hey, who needs words when you got those defined shoulder blades doing the talking? Guess it was just one more legend for the books.
reinforcements! We need all the support we can get!
Why is everyone from that crew a beast? What are they feeding them on that ship?
It was a nightmare. Actually, worse. You could wake up from a nightmare. This was our reality. We were being driven into the heart of Mount Nagelith by a single Skyfarer. Even though he was alone, he was with the crew who defeated General Galanza. Our only chance was to put aside our pride and work together to take him down. Our platoon was experienced, and we could launch the prototype Tayuatar if things started looking rough. We had numbers and strategy on our side. With all of our preparations, victory should have been assured. But he took one look at our perfect formations and laughed.
Ha 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 ha! You honor me with this extra training. Gandagosa shall now return the favor with eternal rage!
You what? This guy was nuts. All of these soldiers, and this was just a field exercise to him?
Get your asses in gear! Do not break ranks!
Command snapped my mind back into focus. I drew my sword, but as I clutched its hilt, I'd never been more sure it was just a hunk of scrap metal.
We walk the path of eternal rage.
Keep your distance, or you won't make it out of here alive.
Roger! Yeah! How will you train from so far away? What? Iron shoulder! A fighter fight!
You have a weapon! Is this a joke to him? Who is this guy?
Could be the devil himself for all I care. Back up. We can't take him on our own.
Step forward! I still need to finish my warm-up. Descend as the Falcon! Yeah! The river boils! My fish grow restless.
Curse our luck. He's leaving me with no option.
Iron shoulder! Our hot skybreaker!
Switch to
Well,
Plan C.
But sir, he doesn't even have armor on!
Just do it. Either we deploy our secret weapon, or he'll wipe us out. Go, Tayuatar! Deliver us from this accursed giant!
I applaud your desire to continue fighting, but you insult me with these useless toys. The cloud breaks the storm!
It's hoping. We took out the Tayuatar.
Of course he did. I want all units deployed. Courage, troops. No one lives forever.
With these fists, nothing is impossible! Take the sky! I shall join! Descend as the Falcon! Iron shoulder! Understood! I like that! Bring it! Speed as the hawk! Victory is mine!
He's a monster.
Commander, your orders! Commander?
Bow! Before my might!
It was a nightmare. Actually worse. You could wake up from a nightmare. This was our reality.
Where are they? Bring me your champions!
We were an entire platoon of pilgrims. We even deployed the Tayuitar. He wasn't even inconvenienced.
Retreat! Retreat!
My mind was cloudy. I barely heard the commander's order. How could I think? I saw it. I saw the force of his punches redirect the blizzard. He had to be a demon. No mortal could beat the damn weather into submission. Not to mention the lack of corpses. This battle had been brutal, but so far no one had sustained critical injuries. Which means he had been holding back. A man like this, he was as strong as General Galanza. No, stronger maybe. Finally, I gathered enough sense to unfreeze my feet and turn tail. As I ran away, I got the sense I'd just witnessed history in the making.
Yeah?
All right.
We've got lunch special prices. We've received a special request.
I will fondly remember my splendid time atop Mount Nagelin. Deadly blizzard pummeling my flesh, freezing cold stabbing my lungs, and swarms of monsters looking to turn me into a long overdue meal. These were already the perfect conditions for training, but sweet, generous fortune had even more in store. I crested a snowy knoll. What should I see but the obvious crusaders setting up camp for their own war games? Follow the fist, or it shall lead to serendipity. Unfortunately, however, it seemed my newfound sparring partners were on a stricter schedule than I, as they took their leave before I could properly thank them.
Gondagoza, a letter came for you.
Now this was a rare occurrence.
It looks like it's from... Whoa, no way.
Her mouth was agape. I peered down to read why. From Galanza, the Silver Wolf Corps General. This would be intriguing.
To Master Gondagoza, distinguished practitioner of the Eternal Rage style. Thank you for meeting my strongest force on the field of battle. They spoke highly of your ferocity. In fact, some suggest you may be stronger than me, which is why I demand a duel. If you are not a coward, meet me in front of Tradam's sanctuary, atop Mount Nagelin. ASAP! I expect a deathmatch, as the skies have never seen before! Signed, the invincible and unparalleled General of the Silver Wolf Corps, Galanza!
Oh no, Mega Pops! You can't go alone! He's way too strong! Vern's right. Who knows what could happen during a fight with that man?
What loving kids to spare their thoughts for me. But Galanza was a man of unparalleled battle acumen. I could not pass on such an opportunity. Call myself the greatest fighter in all the skies. I must best the greatest fighters in all the skies. Captain looked at me with trusting eyes, as if to say, "Go, noble warrior. This crew believes in the might of your god-shattering fists." Seeing the tacit acceptance of their commanding officer, Lyria and Vern finally relented. But they insisted on joining, in case the worst befell me. Their support was my tailwind. We left for the battlefield. Witness me, children. I shall fight the fight of rage!
I come from a long lineage of proud warriors. We had a great number of visitors at our dojo, many of them masters of their respective disciplines. At some point, I picked up a blade of my own and began to mimic their movements. Back then, I enjoyed the training for what it was, valuing the journey over the destination. That is, until I met him. The Supreme Swordsmaster of the Eternals, Eata, once known as the demon Zamba. With a single glance, he identified all of my weaknesses. Then, with a few words, he taught me to overcome them. His strength was beyond captivating. I even eavesdropped on a conversation between him and my father, and discovered we were distant relatives. I was elated. For some time, he continued to train at our family dojo. I took every opportunity I could to learn from him, following him wherever he went. I ate whenever he ate. I committed all his mannerisms to memory. However, with the exception of our first encounter, he never acknowledged me. After all, he yearned for nothing more than strength. Why pay heed to a weakling, such as myself? So I vowed to become stronger. I would soar so high, he'd have to see me. I dedicated myself to training, begrudging even a single moment of respite. The blade was everything to me. And eventually, there was no disciple at the dojo who could come close to rivaling my skill. That was around when he vanished. In the blink of an eye, he was out of my life. He spoke not another word to me, nor called me by name. I was meditating in the forest one day, when a group of travelers approached me. I didn't know them, but they were the captain and the crew of the Grand Cipher, and my future. Initially, I thought they were lost and had come to ask for directions. I was only half correct. They were seeking guidance, but not out of the woods. They wanted to learn martial arts from me. I shook my head. I was no master, only a chrysalis struggling to break free of my own shell. I believed the captain was mocking me, but that wasn't the case. I looked into the captain's eyes and found truth, alongside a burning desire for strength. It felt as if I was in his presence again. I found myself drawn to the captain. That's why I decided to join the crew of the Grand Cipher on their journey across the skies. I was convinced that this was the only path that could reunite me with Zamba. One day, I encountered an adorable Harvan girl at a local market. I'd already finished my shopping, so I decided to accompany her to a nearby cafe for tea and conversation. Upon parting, I asked for her name. She proudly introduced herself as Vive, one of the 10 Eternals. I had heard that Zomba once cared for a child of the same name. A jealousy brewed within me that I hadn't felt before. Zomba had taken notice of her, yet he never once acknowledged me during our time together. My inner peace had been shattered. I retreated to the mountains and started my training anew. But the more I tried to find direction, the more I realized how lost I truly was. It was Lyria and the captain who brought me back. They appreciated me for who I was. Nothing more, nothing less. Perhaps I too could learn to love the living, breathing me, and not a ghost of the future. That thought filled me with so much contentment. I was ready to give up on chasing Zomba. But the universe works in strange ways. As soon as I was about to let go, Thief helped bring me and Zomba together again. It was then I finally put into words how I felt. I spoke about how I wanted him to acknowledge me, to call my name. He listened quietly, and for what I felt was the first time, truly saw me. But I had yet to see and love myself. As part of my quest for self-discovery, I crossed blades with Zomba. No, Eata. We fought for days. He no longer believed I was a weakling. After our battle, we visited the tea shop, and it was there that he first addressed me by name. Never had tea and cake tasted so sweet to me. Now, with nothing holding me back, I am free to soar toward ever greater heights with my beloved companions on the Grand Cipher. I had failed that day at the Hill Wind Altar. I had spent years training and sharpening my skills, devoted my entire life to the pursuit of strength. But in that moment, it all amounted to nothing. Our experiences in Zego Grande had planted a seed of doubt in my mind. Over time, it grew, dense and wild as a jungle, choking me with a sense of helplessness like I'd never felt before. I wasn't able to protect Lyria or the captain. I had found my identity as a big sister, as a guardian. But now that I'd failed, who was I? I thought about resuming my training, but I couldn't afford to isolate myself like that. What if something were to happen while I was away? Then, the solution came to me. Whenever the captain was about to take on a dangerous mission, I would complete it first. That way, I could train myself and protect the crew in one fell swoop. I was too blind to see that despair had clipped my wings and chained me once again to the past. Are there any particularly dangerous missions available? Sierra Carte, with her usual cheery disposition, set a list of options before me.
Sure are. We've got a few jobs here that only a crew of your caliber could handle. In fact...
She paused and looked at me with a quizzical expression.
You know, I can't can't even remember the last time I saw you here by your lonesome. Don't you usually do things as a crew?
I told her I intended to undertake these missions alone, as part of my training.
I gotcha. The grind never ends for you, huh? Just don't push yourself too hard, you hear?
I nodded, only half acknowledging Sierra's words. After deciding upon a venture, I chartered a small carrier vessel which would take me to a nearby island. As the ship was tossed about the turbulent winds, I closed my eyes and looked for peace within. This is for their sake, as well as mine. According to Zero, the threat should be somewhere around here. I sense great evil. Just a little farther.
This is revenge for Madbeat.
Shall we test which is stronger? Your shield or my blade? I can see how this battle will end. It ends with your death! Worthless. But it's not over yet. I will not rest while evil runs free. Do you not have anything more dangerous? I made quick work of the mission and returned at once to Sierra. She seemed taken aback when I demanded more work, but I was determined. If someone had to risk their life, better me than the captain. The crew didn't have to know. They would be kept free from worry and danger, while I grew stronger. I was so absorbed in my thoughts, I'd failed to notice how Sierra's eyes grew ever more clouded with worry.
We've received a special request.
I continued to take one treacherous job after another. If you want someone safe, then keep them from entering the tiger's den. It's as simple as that.
Are you really sure you're up for another one, Nermaya?
Sierra worried for me, but there was no turning back now. My labor had bore fruit. The rest of the crew was beginning to look healthier, better rested. They returned earlier from missions, bearing fewer injuries. I appreciate the concern, Sierra, but the path to strength is long and narrow, and I must continue down this path, for all of their sakes. I was fixated on protecting my loved ones. They were all I could see. If they were safe, then nothing else mattered. That thought alone was enough to steel my resolution. On days without work, I would meditate on the deck of the Grand Cipher. One day, the voice of Vern broke through my meditations.
I don't know. She looks pretty wound up. Wouldn't she usually have dozed off by now? I'm telling ya, something's going on.
He was livelier than ever. Perfect.
You shouldn't push yourself too hard, Narmaya.
And sweet, tender Lyria. Yes, this was how things should be. I cracked open my eyes and stole a hopeful glance at the captain. But on that kind face, I could read only worry and distress. I wanted nothing more than to comfort my darling. No, I was acting for their sakes. I had already come so far. If I could just hold to my path a little longer, make the skies a little safer, then I could go back to being their big sister. I needed more strength. I needed to be worthy of this family. The crew of the Grand Cipher was powerful, but in the end, we were only small people in a vast sky, filled with endless dangers. If I didn't get stronger, one day that sky would engulf us. I had to protect them. I could protect them. All I was lacking was time. I couldn't believe it. I rushed back to Zero after every mission, but that day the captain had dropped by without my knowledge and taken up a request, a particularly treacherous one. It was careless to think that Zero would reserve every single dangerous job for me.
The Grand Cipher crew's more than capable of handling it.
Couldn't she see? The universe worked in dark and mysterious ways. Their lives were always in danger. If I allowed monsters to wander free through the skies, their rot would continue to seep until I, just one lonely figure, could no longer hold back the tide. I had to hunt them all down. There was not a moment to lose. I had to cut down the root of evil, so it could never spread again. I would not kill out of malice, nor did I seek meaningless violence. But when weighing the lives of my loved ones against the lives of these beasts, the answer was clear. As long as their threat persisted across the skies, the crew would never truly be safe. And so I would wield my blade to protect the crew and the helpless. For the captain, I would become the harbinger of death. Everything is for the captain. My captain. My dearest captain. I would kill, and kill, and kill, and kill. Every last threat. I found the largest known monster's den in this skydom, and began my hunt. Die. For the sake of the skies, and my captain. My blade cut through flesh and bone. Again. Again. Again and again. And soon, time lost all meaning. How long was I there? Perhaps 3. Or even 4 days. My grip went numb. My vision blurred. My body grew heavy. But I couldn't stop. Not here. With these hands, I would deliver my loved ones. Even if it meant steeping them in blood. is 979. I must stay strong. For the captain. I must destroy every threat. Let... They must all be eliminated. Death breeds life. Like the dawn, life is a dawn. My hands have gone numb, but even in death, my sword and I are one. Out of my sight. Look. Dance of the pink petals. The final. Life is a... To see me is to see death. The tide rises again. There's more above me. I can feel it. Here. You have breathed your last. Rain on the hill. Night falls. Like the dawn. Evanescence. You're right. They've been lost to anger. Even if it costs me mine, I must protect the captain. You're finished. 1,000. I finally did it. Wait. There's more of them. Impossible. My body had reached its limit. I had managed to fend off countless hordes of monsters, but more kept creeping from the shadows. I summoned the last of my strength for one final swing. Then my sword clattered to the ground. Darkness. Monsters began to close in, claws drawn, ready to kill. I closed my eyes, waiting for it all to end. But before my mind could fade into darkness, I was roused by a brilliant flash.
Narmaya!
Captain?
Let's get you out of here, quickly! You had us worried, you know?
Vern, Lyria too? The captain took my hand, but I couldn't leave yet. I had to finish the job.
Narmaya, I'm so sorry we didn't notice what you were going through sooner.
My heart plunged. I should have been the one apologizing. I was the one who failed. Gently, I tried to withdraw my fingers from the captain's.
We heard it all from Sierra. Can't believe she's been giving you all the hard jobs. You were doing it to protect us, right?
I parted my lips. They needed to understand that it wasn't Sierra's fault, that I brought this all on myself. But my arid throat could not push out a voice. After a moment of silence, the captain pressed down on my hand.
Narmaya, I want to protect those closest to me, same as you. So if something's on your mind, don't keep it to yourself. We're here for you.
And just like that, I was overcome with the emotions I had tried so hard to suppress. How could I have been so blind? Not a single one of us could protect the crew. But that's okay, because all of us could protect each other. The whole is greater than its parts. The captain's grip was firm and led me blinking into the sunlight. There, I saw worry etched into the faces of the crew. I realized that, by putting myself in harm's way, I hurt those who cared for me. Those who loved me, those I wanted to spend my days with, now and forever. But the course I had been following could only lead to isolation. The captain still hadn't let go of my hand. Though the grip of those calloused fingers was firm, I felt a gentle kindness in their warmth.
We've received a special request.
Captain, are you hungry? I'd be more than happy to feed you. Or maybe you'd like a nap. I always thought I had to be strong for my loved ones, never truly realizing they were my strength. We supported each other. We lessened the burden of sorrow and shared the light of joy. Lyria, you've got a bit of cream on your cheek. Here, let me wipe it off for you.
Oh, thank you, Narmaya. I'm glad Butterfly grows back to normal. But is it just me, or is she laying it on even thicker than usual?
Vern was adorable, trying to play the part of the tough dragon. However, as I took him into my arms, I thought, he shouldn't have to put on an act around me. After all, we're family, aren't we? On a bright, quiet day, I had a sparring match with the captain. I once locked myself away from the world in the pursuit of strength, training in solitude. But I've since found that I train best with those I love around me, to lend me a guiding hand or an encouraging voice. The captain held nothing back during our session. It seems I'm not the only one who has grown stronger. Our blades rang bright and clear, and the captain's smile is a clear reminder of how far I'd come. After training was over, we stood for a while longer on the deck of the Grand Cipher, feeling the breeze. Above us, the azure sky was spread as far as the eye could see, its splendor too much to take in all at once. I felt as if I would be consumed by the sky itself, and grasped the captain's hand. In that moment of peace, I swore that I would keep learning and growing. Not alone, but together with those I love.
What do you think? All right, see you.
How do you do?
Mission complete! Daddies ain't got nothing on you!